One of the more frequently asked questions that I receive is how long is my food good for? Whether it's commercially canned, home canned, dry goods, whatever it is. So today we're going to talk about 40 essential pantry items, at least what I think is essential, and how long you can expect them to last. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and we are all about pantry preparedness. Buying the food is just part of the equation. It's not enough just to purchase it. You need to be able to store it properly and know how long it will last for. So with this list, we're going to hit how long we can expect it to last, providing it is stored properly. We will be covering different storage options in a future video in the next week. So wait for that one too. But this will get you started and get your mind thinking about different things that you can stock up on. The first area that we're going to cover are dry goods and staples. So number one, white rice, right? Rice and beans, rice and beans. So white rice, it has to be white rice. White rice has a shelf life between 25 and 30 years if stored properly. That's pretty good, right? So you use white rice for bases for meals. It's a staple. You use it for soups and stews and casseroles and use it as a side dish. I mean, it's rice. We eat a lot of rice. Well, not here in this house, but the country, people eat a lot of white rice. And so this is a great thing to have. It will extend your meals. It will fill your belly. It gives you that carb boost. White rice. The next one is dried beans because rice and beans, rice and beans. So dried beans will last a really long time. Black beans, navy beans, kidney beans, all the beans, okay? They have a shelf life of 10 plus years. Yes, they do. Again, soups, chilies, stews, baked beans, plant-based protein. I mean, they're a fantastic food. So that's why rice and beans is so often referred to in the preparedness community. Rolled oats is another great one. The shelf life is 25 years if it's sealed in Mylar with oxygen absorbers. If you just leave it in the packet that it comes in, you're looking at about 2 years. So it's worth the effort to move it into or buy it in bulk and move it into Mylar bags. Again, it's a thickening agent. It's great for baked goods. It's great for breakfast. It's another meat extender. You can mix it in with your meatloaf or whatever, right? Rolled oats. Pasta, oh yes, pasta has approximately 2+ years. And when I say 2+, it really depends on the kind of pasta. Your basic everyday pasta, that's good for 10 years. Vacuum seal it in a jar, put it in Mylar, get it out of the original container, and it will be good for a decade. If it's a specialty like egg noodles, okay, or they have different pastas that are, have protein-based pastas now, those don't have as long of a shelf life. But your everyday high carb normal pasta, yeah, just repackage it properly and it will last you at least a decade. This is one that we always have a whole bunch of fun with. Flour, commercially ground flour. When they commercially grind a flour, they take all of the nutritious stuff out of it, okay? But it has a shelf life of 6 to 12 months. It can go up to 5 years if it is frozen. Some people say that vacuum sealing it makes it last longer also. The thing is it goes rancid. And so if you've ever smelled paint thinner, that's what it'll do. I don't like to risk that kind of thing with flour. So we have converted for all of our own personal stuff over to home milled flour from wheat. That literally lasts forever. But if you're buying all-purpose flour, commercially ground flour, then you're looking at safe bet 12 months to 2 years. And that's going to depend a lot on where you live, how hot it is, how humid it is, whether or not you've got it in the freezer, whether or not it's vacuum sealed. Those will all play into that. But for the safest bet, factor in 2 years. Cornmeal, because a lot of people like cornmeal, right? The shelf life of cornmeal is 1 to 2 years, and that's yellow, white, whatever. 5+ years if it's degerminated and put into Mylar bags. That's important. That's a good thing to know because I know a lot of people use it for cornbread, polenta, breading, that kind of thing. So The question has always been, but once it's cornmeal, it's only good for a couple of years. And then after that, it's not. You can make it last up to 5 years. Look at degerminated. That's the phrase that you want to look up because that's what needs to happen to it before you put it into the mylar. Now there's sugar because life just requires a little bit of sweetness in it, right? White sugar, white sugar is indefinite if you keep it dry. Literally indefinite. Do not put in oxygen absorbers. You will turn it into a brick. It'll be so hard to deal with, okay? But if you just put it into 5-gallon buckets with regular lids that you pound down, those are airtight. If you put it into mason jars and screw on the lid really tight, it's airtight. If you put it into mylar, don't use an oxygen absorber, just put it in there and seal it, then it's good and tight. Everything's great. You use it for baking, preserving, fermenting, everything. Sugar, it's sugar. Hello. Do you want to do that with brown sugar? No. If you want brown sugar for long term, then it's best to make your own, at which point you just, have molasses on hand. Powdered sugar? No. I've had stale powdered sugar. Oh yeah, you can definitely taste it. And what a waste that was. So powdered sugar from regular sugar. All you need is a good high-speed blender and a little bit of cornstarch or arrowroot powder, and you have powdered sugar. Salt is another indefinite. So just same thing as sugar. Do not use an oxygen absorber with it because it will turn it into a brick. Put it into a bucket, put it into jars, put it into mylar. Just no oxygen absorbers. It will outlive you. Baking powder and baking soda. These are two different things used for two different purposes, okay? So baking powder, figure about a year. I've had it last 2, so it's going to depend on where you store it, how you store it. Baking powder does that. Baking soda, pretty much indefinitely. Yeah, pretty much indefinitely. But you don't need to vacuum seal it. You don't need to use an oxygen absorber on either one. Again, you just want to make sure that they are in an airtight container where moisture can't get to it and where heat won't impact it. Powdered milk. Now, I'm looking specifically at the low fat, no fat powdered milk, okay, because there's no fat, so it does last longer. It has a shelf life of 2 to 10 years, depending on what it's in. You can make it last 10 years if you take it out of its original container, if it is not an already sealed like Mylar type bag, So in that case, just pour it into a Mylar bag and yeah, oxygen absorber, seal it up, put it up. It's good for 10 years. So non-fat, properly stored. There are some commercial powdered milks that like Nido, okay? And those do have a longer shelf life. Would I put them at 10 years? Not necessarily, but I understand they're very good. So, if it's between milk and no milk, get the non-fat. It literally will last you a decade. You just rotate through it like you do everything else. Canned meat. And I'm talking commercially canned for the most part, but it also can fall into place for home canned. So things like chicken, tuna, commercially canned ham, beef, pork, whatever. When it's commercially canned, you're looking at a 3 to 5 year shelf life. And I mean, it typically hits the shelves with at least a 3-year expiration date on it. So if you're hitting anywhere before that, they're pulling old stock from someplace, Check your expiration dates when you buy it. But I have bought a bunch of tuna and it's typically 3 to 5 years out on that date, which is really, really nice, right? So go ahead and stock up on that. If you find a great sale, tuna goes on sale kind of frequently around here, and you can get a good quality tuna for about $1 a can. That's a great source of protein. So just know that within 5 years, okay, 3, if, keep an eye. You can go past that date is if the can is not compromised, you can definitely go past that date, but you want to keep an eye on it and you want to get it into rotation. Remember, none of this sits in here to stare at. It is all used. It is all rotated through because otherwise you're wasting money and nobody needs to do that. So with your home canned, if you can it properly and safely, you're looking at a decade, easily a decade. So that meat doesn't need, either one does not need refrigeration. whether it's commercially or home canned. It doesn't need refrigeration. If you live in some place that's very warm, okay, then and you don't have air conditioning, then that is going to shorten that time frame. That's what you need to pay attention to. The time frames that I'm giving you are like optimal time frames. If you are living in someplace much warmer with no air conditioning, it's not going to last as long. So you just don't buy as much and you make sure you rotate through it. The next one is canned vegetables. The shelf life is 1 to 3 years. It really depends on the vegetable. So if you've got a super soft vegetable, then, you really, yeah, probably want to use that sooner than later. But most canned vegetables will last you at least 3 years. I know that we ate French fries, we ate beets, but on that fourth year with the beets especially, yeah, they started changing color. They started looking very white, very pale, so you definitely want to make sure you're rotating through those about every 3 years. That's the safest way to do it. You can use them for all kinds of things: quick meals, soups, side dishes, vegetables. They're good for you. Does the body good, right? Canned fruits have a shorter shelf life. They're 1 to 2 years. It's the nature of the beast, honestly. It is just the fruit, and that's the way that it reacts. So if you go out and buy 4 cases of canned pears, okay, if you can't eat those inside of 2 years, then you're going to have a problem. Yes, they will make it to 2 years, 2 months, 2 years, 3 months, 4 months, okay, but you will notice a definite deterioration in the quality of the fruit just because it does start to break down. It's not so much that it's not safe, it's that the quality is so diminished that you don't want to eat it. At some point, though, it does become not safe. So you want to be careful. And again, the temperature and location and everything will factor into that. Canned beans. So if you are buying commercially canned beans, then these have 2 to 5 year shelf life. Not bad at all. So if I get a case of baked beans and put them on the shelf, I know I've got 2 to 5 years to eat them, probably edging more towards 5. And sometimes I may push it to 6, depending on what it is. But that's never my goal to sit it there. And I don't have that much space to take up for something that I'm not eating and not rotating through. But worst case scenario, okay, 2 to 5 years. You can use those in chilies. They're great in salads. Oh, yeah. And stews. Beans. They're good in a bowl, heated up. I mean, they're beans. Now, canned tomato products. This gets fun. So I'm talking about diced. I'm talking about sauces. I'm talking about pasta, salsa, whatever, okay? The shelf life is typically 2 years. You are good as far as commercially canned if there is no compromise to the can itself. The problem with tomatoes is that they are acidic. And so the acid can start to take on the aluminum flavoring, and it may change the flavoring a little bit. But if the can is not buckling, if it hasn't exploded, then you're good to go. So don't be afraid to use it if you've bypassed that 2 year date or if you've gone past the date that's stamped on there. But definitely pull it to the front and make sure that you're using it sooner than later. You don't want to use it 5 years later. Evaporated and condensed milks, because they're good. Yes, they have a shelf life of 1 to 2 years. And it's just a deterioration again of the product, okay? They are great for creamy dishes or for baking, right? Oh, who doesn't love some sweetened condensed milk, right? Beverages, all kinds of stuff you can use it for. It's a great calorie booster. So definitely you want to keep those on rotation. Don't stock more than you'll be able to seriously use within a couple of years. If you need to bump out to 3, you're probably pushing it, but you can do it. And, it depends on your environment. Broths and stocks. So we're talking chicken, we're talking beef, we're talking veggie. I honestly don't know about seafood stock, but that's out there too. So probably falls in the same place. You're looking at about 2 years. And again, that is something that is so easy to make. Just, if you have to stop and get one of those rotisserie chickens for dinner one night, save the bones, make some stock. It's a great thing. But if you're buying it in the box containers at the store, it's normally good for a couple of years. And again, it takes up a lot of space. So if you're not rotating through it, you are wasting a lot of space. Make sure it's something you rotate through. jarred pasta sauce, which in my opinion falls under tomato-based products, right? But unopened, because of whatever's in there, they're saying about a year. Can you go over a year? Sure. Can you go to 2 years? I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Again, it's a quality issue, okay? Not so much a safety issue unless the container has been compromised. But some things are just not meant to last on the shelf forever, you know? That's one of those things. Now, the really fun, sweet stuff, okay? Syrups and honey. Honey. Okay, so the shelf life for honey is indefinite. It will outlive you. It may crystallize. It's very simple to take care of. But otherwise, honey, real honey, it lasts forever. Now, syrups like maple syrup, that kind of thing, once they're opened, they last about a year or two in the refrigerator. They are no longer shelf stable once they're opened. That's something that you want to pay really close attention to. So, I mean, we use these for everything, right? I mean, honey is even medicinal. So, honey, is great for your medicine cabinet. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. And, it sweetens everything. It makes everything taste better except mashed potatoes. I don't think, well, no, it'd probably be good there too. So next we're going to go to freeze-dried and dehydrated goods. Make no mistake, these are two completely different animals, and it confuses a lot of people. So there's freeze-dried foods like this, and there's dehydrated foods. And they have different processes and the outcomes are different. So you're going to want to pay attention to this, okay? But freeze-dried fruits typically last 20 to 25 years unopened. So once you freeze dry it, package it up, put some oxygen absorbers in there and put it away. It's good for 20 to 25 years. It's great for snacking. I mean, it's really good for snacking, baking, cereal toppings, oatmeal, that kind of stuff. Freeze-dried vegetables, again, 20 to 25 years. Dehydrated onions and garlic, 10 to 15 years if stored properly. Powdered eggs, 5 to 10 years. Definitely keep an eye on whoever it is that you buy them from. There is no consistent, reliable way to dehydrate eggs at home. They're a protein highly susceptible to salmonella. Not something I would mess with. No. So, I know somebody's going to say, I've always done it. That's nice. Okay. So 5 to 10 years. They're great for if you don't have eggs, not having to run to the store. They're great to take camping. They're great for emergency situations. You can even cook them in your fondue pot over a tea light candle. You can. Next, we are going on to oils and fats and condiments. Okay. So cooking oil, olive or vegetable oil, whatever your choice, you're looking at a maximum 2 years. Maximum 2 years. If you keep it cool, dark, and dry. If you cannot keep those situations, then look at a year. Coconut oil definitely lasts 2 years, possibly more. So that's something to have on hand for longer term. Again, don't stock it if you're not going to use it. Okay, if it's not something that you use today, it has a different smoke point. It acts differently. It's not, completely interchangeable, but it's a good alternative to have just in case. Coconut oil or lard lasts 2 to 5 years. And I hesitate with the lard because what I'm going to tell you is commercial lard. Lard that you can buy in the bucket at the grocery store lasts 2 to 5 years. If you process your own, you're going to be lucky to get a year out of it unless you're storing it in the freezer. I raise pigs. This is what I know, okay? I have put it in my pantry and had it go rancid 6 months later. No, it all goes in the freezer now. So you have to pay attention to where you're getting it from. But the commercial lard, for whatever reason, I've never really read a label, that lasts 2 to 5 years. But it needs to be kept cool, dark, and dry. The next one is shelf-stable butter. What? Okay, so there's ghee, okay, which is a totally different animal. But then there's also canned butter. You can buy canned butter. I'll put a link down below. And then there's butter powder. Now, with Thrive, we sell a butter powder, okay? And you will not fry an egg with it because it has no oil. It's powder. But it gives you that butter flavor. So it's really great to throw on things, or I put it in my bread recipes. Oh, the bread just comes out amazing. I mean, it's I can't even describe it as like a cloud. It's beautiful, but you can sprinkle it on a baked potato and you get the flavor. You can add that flavor per se, but you would have to reconstitute it to an extent with some kind of oil to use it to fry an egg. So, you have to pick your battles, you really do. But those last typically about 5 years. You want to take a look, especially with the canned, at the expiration date. You want to pay attention to it because that is legitimately canned butter. It is not ghee. Ghee is a rendered butter that we don't care for here, but definitely can, it has a shelf. You can put it on the shelf. It has a shelf. You can put it on the shelf and not have to worry about it. Whereas my butter gold mine is in the freezer, and that's where it's going to stay. Next one is vinegar, because I get a lot of questions about this. There was actually a conversation in our Facebook group not too long ago about vinegar. Should I take it out of the plastic bottles and put it into glass bottles? And it's like, why? There's literally no need. The issue with vinegar is you don't want the lid to be metal. So if the lid on your vinegar container is metal, that can be a problem because it can erode the metal lid, okay? But otherwise, vinegar, doesn't matter what kind, literally has an indefinite life. It will last forever on your shelf, letting you know that it's there. I have gallons because somebody was cleaning out someplace and he ran across 10 gallons of vinegar on top of the 10 gallons that I already had stored. I have vinegar for a very, very long time. Luckily, it can be used for so many different things. Aside from pickles and marinades, it's great for cleaning. The next one is soy sauce and wash your sister sauce. Okay. So those have a shelf life of 2 to 3 years. I'm edging more towards 3 to 5, depending again on the environment. If you have a very hot location that you're storing it, it's going to be 3 and under. But for the most part, 3 years. Let's average it out. Okay. Use those for all kinds of flavorings, marinades, condiments. I mean, wash your sister sauce is the bomb, right? Next is beverages and mixes. We're going to get the most important ones out of the way. So, coffee and tea. If you don't do anything to it, if you buy it and then put it on your shelf, okay, you're looking at 1 to 2 years. And that's period for coffee and tea. You can extend the life of your coffee if it's whole bean and then you freeze it. You can freeze your ground coffee too, and it lasts indefinitely until it's not frozen anymore. Tea, I'm not sure if you freeze it because honestly, I'm not a tea drinker. But if you know the answer to that, throw it in the thing below. Coffee and tea just offer comfort, they offer warmth, and they're always a good thing to have when company comes over. Now, drink mixes. You want to look at the electrolyte ones and like lemonade or any of the drink mixes, right? Those typically have about a 2-year shelf life. They do start to get kind of hard after a while, so you have to watch those. I'm not saying that they won't work, that it'll just take more to mix them up. And I'm not sure that the electrolytes will be as impactful after 2 years. So that's something you have to take into consideration. Cocoa powder and hot chocolate mix, because hello, those are good for 2 to 3 years. And that's just because the 2 to 3 years is, I don't know what product you're using. I don't know what it's made of. So 2 to 3 years. And, you can use those definitely to make hot chocolate or cocoa. You can use them in baked goods. It's definitely a morale booster. Sometimes you just need a cup of hot chocolate. Shelf-stable juice boxes and concentrates. Those shelf lives, my friends, are low, 6 to 12 months. So it's something you want to watch, not something you necessarily want to stock up on a whole bunch. Obviously they're good for kids' drinks, for vitamin C. Do they still make Tang? I have no idea. I'd rather just go get some Tang. Baking and cooking extras is another part of our pantry, and so you want to keep an eye on this. Now, yeast, the vacuum sealed dry yeast, okay? And you find them in bricks, literally. I have a ton of these. I keep them in my freezer. Outside of the freezer, like on the shelf, they're good for like 2 years. I put them in the freezer, they're good indefinitely, as long as they stay frozen and vacuum sealed indefinitely. I love the freezer sometimes. So obviously, if you're not big into sourdough, that's good for all kinds of things. Yeast, rolls, pizza dough, all that kind of stuff. Next is cornstarch or arrowroot powder. And again, those are indefinite. I love Forever Foods. I really do. You can use either one of these interchangeably for thickening soups, sauces, and desserts. They're great. Make a good gravy. Yes, you can. Gelatin or pectin. Gelatin literally will last forever, okay? And it's a great source of protein. It's good for your hair and your nails. Herbs and spices, dried herbs and spices, okay? Now, they say a shelf life of 1 to 3 years, but their thing is that it loses potency over time. But I know for a fact that if you vacuum seal cumin in a Mylar bag, okay, put an oxygen absorber in there, and that's what I mean, a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber with your cumin, that it's good 5 years later, like you just made it. I mean, it's fantastic. And so the key with spices is to make sure that you're putting them into Mylar with oxygen absorbers if you're buying in bulk. If you're just buying little bottles, yeah, you've got 1 to 3 years and they'll start tasting stale. And if you've ever run across like stale oregano possibly in your cabinet, there's a taste difference. Wow. Yeah. Now, some miscellaneous pantry items to take into consideration: instant mashed potatoes. Yeah, but these are the ones that don't have the special flavors. So no garlic and no baked potato ones and no butter, okay? But just plain mashed potatoes, dried mashed potatoes. 10 to 15 years stored in Mylar. Yep. Now, you can use those to thicken soups and stews, okay? You can use them in bread. It's quick, easy food, and it's definitely comfort food. If you like mashed potatoes, like I like mashed potatoes, it's a comfort food. Now, even though it's my least favorite form of food out there, ramen and shelf-stable noodles, okay? 2+ years. So will they be here like the length of a Twinkie and cockroaches into the apocalypse? No, but they will last at least 2 years, probably more, and they'll still be good when you add some hot water and then whatever base, seasoning, vegetables, whatever you put in there. They're great for quick, easy meals. They're inexpensive, not as inexpensive as they used to be, but they're inexpensive. And it's food to fill the belly in an emergency if it is something that you enjoy today. I do not believe in stocking up food for the sake of bartering. I think it's foolish and I think it's a waste of time, money, and space. Nobody is going to do something amazing for you for a couple things of ramen. I mean, nobody. Okay. So don't waste your time. Stock the food if you eat the food, not to barter. That doesn't make any sense at all. So I hope that this was helpful and will help you better keep control of what is in your pantry and for how long it lasts. It's always a good idea to go through an inventory. Worst case scenario, 1 time a year. Best case scenario, every quarter. Okay. Because if you're in there every 3 months, you can see what's actually being used, what's actually being rotated, what the family might have lost a taste for. And then you're not waiting until last minute going, oh, well, I'll just give it to the food pantry. Come on. I mean, these are human beings. Be responsible with your food and your food storage. And if you're going to donate it to the food pantry, make sure that it is still has a bit of a shelf life on it, so that they're not trying to cram it in, and make sure that it is something that is worth receiving. When it comes to building a reliable, long-lasting food supply, it doesn't only mean what to store, okay? It means understanding when to use it. And so getting these time frames down, hopefully, is very helpful to you. If you want to see more about my list of forever foods, check out this video right here. Until next time, everybody, be safe. Keep stacking it to the rafters, my friends.